Hey there, it's Rick Butts. You've been working with Edestol, you've been creating your projects, you've probably got a lot of cables created, your conduits are created, and you haven't really been filling in the length fields as you create each one of these. So what you got is you got a bunch of cables in your cable schedules, and you got a bunch of conduit segments that don't have any lengths assigned. So what I've done is I've created a couple of nice utilities for you to go through real quickly, not have to load up every form for every cable and every conduit segment. So just want to show it to you, give you a quick way to enter this information. Let's go take a look. Okay. Here we are. This is a project that we have previously worked on. We imported motors to create our motor or our power model here. And as we imported the power devices, we created the particular power cables. We also imported control devices. And you can see you've got a device under each. These are the device type sub branches. And you've got different devices under there, and you can see that. And as we created each one of these control devices, we have created their associated cables. You have P cables for your 480 volt, basically for 241 up to 1000 volts. All those are in P cables. You got L cables here, which is your 120, 240 stuff. Then you've got control cables. Each one of these is associated with a control device. You've got your signal cables, which are your shielded cables. Obviously, they're all associated with control or control devices. Then you've got your communication cables that can be, in this case, they're all UTP, unshielded twisted pair Ethernet, but they can be fiber or coax, whatever. So we've created these in past videos. I would recommend, if you're not really familiar with that process, go back and look at the import motors process. Go back at look at the import controls video. Look at the creating conduits video. And what we have done is as those cables were all created, we then dragged these cables down into the conduits header and created our associated conduits. And you've got different kinds. You can do trunk lines with drop lines, and it's fairly sophisticated and useful. So this is really your raceway schedule here. Let's see here. There we go. Here's your raceway schedule with all your conduit systems with individual segments. Some systems have multiple segments. A lot of them are just single segment conduit systems. Again, all that is described in the conduits video. So I would recommend you take a look at that if you haven't seen it already. Now, throughout this process, you are not really thinking about lengths for either your cables or your conduits systems. So you just leave the field to zero. Now you're to the point where you've kind of got your system defined, and you want to import lengths for both your conduits and for your cables so that your bill of materials actually mean something. So what I've given you is a couple of utilities. One of them is cable lengths. Just click on that, and what it does is it basically gives you the different alpha groups that you have that exist, and you can click on that, and it will scroll you real quickly through using a next and a previous button through all the cables in the system. And it kind of gives you also some information on what this cable actually is. You got P cable CPT, which is actually run from MCC1 circuit breaker CPT to CPT. So this is the transformer that's sitting beside the MCC, fed from a breaker within the MCC. So we're going to give it, and this is a cable, so let's give it about, let's say 12 feet. Okay. The next one is in the list. It just goes down your list over here. Oh, we can't do it. Can't look at it right there. Goes from MCC1 ASD M1, which is the ASD feeding M1, which it exists in the MCC1, and goes out and hits the disconnect switch for M1. And so that's in the field. So let's give that, that's quite a ways out. And Here's one that goes from the disconnect switch itself to M1. So that's relatively close from a cable standpoint. So let's make that 10 feet. And you can keep on going and scroll through all these. You can also then go down and do your L cables, same thing. You can do your any type you've got. Let's just put some in for E cables. And these are all Ethernet cables, so let's just put 300 feet in for each one. 100 meters is actually closer to 330, but from a distance standpoint, let's just call them 300 feet per run. And these are your cables, so we're going to do, and you could go on through and do them all if you wanted. Scroll on through, and then let's save and exit out of that. And then let's go back and look at our cable schedule. Okay. And now you can see, rather than in the length field, we're looking at the report cable schedule 01. You've got a length field, and you can see we have entered these lengths in. That's for our P cables. We didn't do any L cables or C cables, S cables, but let's go down. You see your E cables down here in your cable schedule, and we filled in a bunch of 300s. And you can go down to your bill of materials now. And let's look at multi-conductor. Ethernet cables are actually considered multi-conductor. They will show up under your, so basically here's your 4-pair number 24 Cat5e, and you've got 13 total runs. And each one of these runs, if you recall, when we did them, we ran spares. So basically it's the length times the quantity of cables that you've put in that particular run. And it works out to 3. So basically, we have 11 total runs of 300 feet. We have actually total runs 13 of actual cable runs, but it appears that 2 of them were just a single cable, not multiple cables. So, and then you've got some multi-conductor tray cable exposed routing. That's 3/0 that's used. I'm not exactly sure what that's for, but it shows up in your bill of material. You had chosen HWC, which is Houston Wire and Cable. It gives you a part number. 2 total runs with a total feet of 1,000 feet. So this is, I believe this is the run for M1 that is a parallel run. There's 2 parallel runs, and we did 1 single. Let's check that out and see. Let's go back up here to our parallel. The cable, yes, right. See, we had a single run of 500 feet, and it was 2 parallel runs. So there's your 2 3/0 right there, which gives you 1,000 feet. So you can down look here at your bill of materials. So now you need to order 1,000 feet of THHN, THWN2, number 3/0. There you go, and it gives you a Houston Wire and Cable part number. So that is your cables. You can do that for all your cables. We just filled in some numbers from some just to give you an idea how that works. Now we have the same routine. Let's look at our conduit system. All right, and this is a series of segments. As you recall, each conduit system is a series of segments, or it has to be at least 1 segment, but it can be more. So we did a utility there as well. So let's do conduit lengths. And in this case, you are not just, you basically put lengths for each one of your segments, not necessarily fill in your conduit system. And the length for a segment would equal the length for the system only in the case where it is a single segment conduit. And if you need more information on conduit systems, go back and look at the video for conduits. So it'll show you all that stuff. But basically it's the same concept, except different conduits that are available are here. And you can select your conduit systems, and as you scroll through your conduit systems, it will also scroll you through your segments. P conduits, these are all the same. So let's go and look at our E conduits, where we have 1 and we have several. In this particular system, we have a trunk line with a bunch of drops, and you scroll through these and you get your different, you notice the segment increases as you scroll through. So it basically does conduit systems by segment. And you go ahead and you enter your distances. Let's go back to the beginning for e-conduits. And let's go 104 to the first node, and then the first drop, let's go 20. The second trunk line segment is another 100. And then the second drop from node B there is, let's go 20. And then the fifth segment, which is another trunk line from node B to C. Let's give it another 100. And then the drop from node C down to your efficiency panel. Let's give that, it's just 10. It's hanging up high on the wall. And then down to your network cabinet from that same finish node. And let's give that 20 feet. And let's save all that. And what you can do is you can look at your conduit systems, and down here, let's look at, where's our length here? Okay, so let's go up to controls. Okay. And you can see we filled in up here length feet. This is your actual raceway, complete raceway schedule of every conduit for power, for low voltage power, for signals, for Ethernet, your communications, and then some low voltage down here. So you can see we did some e-conduit segments, 120, 120, 100. And then basically these are your conduit systems. So now you can go down to your bill of material and click on conduits, and it'll now tell you that some of these, you've got total segments. These totals are correct based on your conduit list. We haven't put all the length in there, so looks like it's not filling in length at all. So I need to get that fixed, and I'll put that on the list. But you should have your conduits, because our conduit lengths are here. We got our lengths here, but we're not summing them into our bill of materials. So just for reference, this is exactly the kind of help that I need. If you see a problem like this, where, hey, I just did some stuff, it should be working, but it's not summing all of our conduit feet. So I believe what it's probably doing is the conduits for the P's and the L's, maybe the controls and signals, but we are not summing our conduits for our communication cables. So I gotta get that fixed. But that gives you the idea of how these utilities work. And I think it should make it fairly easy for you to go in and quickly add all that information into your project. So hope this was informative. If you need any questions, any help, you have any ideas on future videos or additional videos to describe more details that are missing, just drop me an email at support@edestol.com. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.